Hi, welcome back to my sewing room. If you're not new here, you know that I am learning to sew and attempting to build my dream wardrobe that is vintage meets modern. The process hasn't been entirely smooth and the learning hasn't been completely fast, but I now have more free time on my hands and I am starting to take advantage of some of the books that I have. So I ran across a really cool one that I didn't even know I had, and it's from the 1950s. It's called McCalls 1001 Questions on Sewing. So I have picked out 50 questions out of here that I would like to share with you today and the answers. And I warn you, some of these questions have not aged well. I think it's going to be a good time. So thank you for being here. You can support this content by engaging with it in the comments. I would love to hear your thoughts on these questions and answers. Share with me any questions that you might have that I can answer. And if you guys enjoy this, we can do a part two because there is like 951 questions that we don't touch. So with all of that said, thank you for being here. And let's get right into McCall's 1001 Questions on Sewing. So I found this book to be really helpful for someone who's learning to sew and learning to sew vintage, but also if you're trying to plan your wardrobe, even if that's a purchase wardrobe. So this book is broken up into sections, and so I've picked out some questions from each of the sections. So we're going to start with chapter 1, What Shall I Wear? And it's questions on the basic wardrobe plan. So question number 1. How do you begin to plan a coordinated wardrobe? They answer, after analyzing the type of life you lead, make a list of the occasions for which you need special costumes. Then take a good look at your present wardrobe to see what you can use and what it is lacking. I find this to be a very, very helpful answer. And it is something that I am trying to do now is really just take a look at what I have, what I don't, what I need, what I want, what is a necessity and what is a want, and all of those things. I am actually wearing an outfit that I made. I will link the video if you want to see it, as well as I will leave in the description some of the more modern sewing books that I use and would recommend. So I think that's a good answer. Question number 2. What should a minimum basic wardrobe include? A complete outfit for each different type of occasion in your life. Usually, every woman needs a simple coat, a classic suit, several basic daytime dresses, which may be dressed up or down by the use of accessories, a casual dress, skirt, blouse, sweater, sports ensemble, after 5 dress, and the appropriate hats, bags, shoes, stockings, gloves, and jewelry to complement each outfit. That makes sense. Now, here's something I found interesting. The question is, how do you plan a clothes budget? And the answer is usually 10 to 15% of your annual income is spent on clothes and their care. Never thought about this. Divide this amount so that the larger share is spent on the clothes you use the most. Your basic coat, suit, and dresses are long-term investments and should be of good quality. Find that interesting. I don't know what percent of my budget I spend on clothes each year. Now that I'm sewing, I wonder what percent of my budget I am spending on fabric and sewing patterns and etc. So, question number 4. What basic colors can you select when you simply cannot wear neutral colors? Don't confine your basics to only black, gray, and white. It is more important to choose a basic color that flatters you. Navy, brown, beige, soft red, some turquoises can be substituted for a neutral since they combine well with a variety of colors. First, choose your basic color, then study the techniques of color harmony and plan your wardrobe around a color scheme. And this is something I think I am attempting to do. I like neutrals, tans, browns, beiges, blacks, whites, and I want to go in and add blouses and jackets and other things that are in color or pattern or whatever. So I can get with that answer. Are taffetas, satins, and brocades ever correct for daytime wear? And they answer, only on a bride. Generally, these are evening fabrics worn after 5. And I think in today's time, we can kind of play with this a bit. I am a tad bit old fashioned. I do think satins and brocades are for after 5, but I'm not that sure about taffetas. I'm also still learning a lot about fabrics, so we'll have to revisit that. Let me know what you think. Are taffetas, satins, and brocades ever correct for daytime wear? Question number 6. This is a good one for me. So, what should I wear when job hunting? Wear a conservative classic suit or dress, a smart hat, gloves, leather pumps, neutral hose, simple jewelry, and carry a tailored leather bag. Question number 7. I'm starting to work in the fall and would like to plan a good all around wardrobe. What type of clothes should I have? They answer, the key to your career wardrobe is where you will be working. And I think that is very true. In today's time, if you're working like in a creative job, you get away with a lot more. If you're working in tech or hybrid or whatever, like your wardrobe is going to be completely different. I know me working from home, I had some really nice tops and blouses and blazers, but I wasn't buying things like pants and skirts or whatever because you could only see me from the waist up. Today, I do actually have on a nice skirt that I made. So okay, so let's answer the question. It continues. If you are going to be in an office, you will want to include skirts, jackets, and blouses that can be mixed and matched. If you'll be working with the public, you will be wise to stress suits and dresses. Keep your clothes simple, tailored, and easy to care for. Although dark and basic colors look businesslike, do not be afraid to include some brighter ones to pep up your working day wardrobe. How do I plan a smart maternity wardrobe on a limited budget? Sew your own. Make many separates in coordinated colors so that you have unlimited mix and match possibilities. Use as many easy care fabrics as possible. Look for some one-piece styles to wear in the early months and after the baby arrives. And I think this holds to be true whether you're sewing your clothes or buying your clothes. For my maternity style, I regret not wearing a lot of the tighter silhouettes and form-fitting things. I didn't. I did a lot of the oversized things and my husband's button downs and um, things that kind of camouflaged it for no good reason. And I do regret that about my maternity style. I did not actually wear like a really form-fitting dress until my baby shower. I was fine with the bump, but the fact that everything else got bigger too, I think I worried a little bit too much about it, and I wish that I hadn't. I regret it now. I really do. Question number 9. What styles should the middle-aged person select to suit her age, yet not appear matronly? And this is something that I struggle with. I don't know if I'm considered middle-aged or not, but I want to look young and youthful, but I still want to look age appropriate. And it's a whole thing trying to find that balance. And I think it depends on where you're going. Like, I'm not going to wear the same thing to like brunch with my girlfriends that I would wear to a parent teacher conference or whatever. So I think where you're going plays a big role in that. But let's see what they say. The middle-aged woman should avoid falling into a rut in her selection of styles and colors. Keep experimenting with color and new lines to see if they are suitable for your figure, personality, and age. Usually, a woman of any age can wear the classic styles in coats, suits, and dresses and make them fashionable by adding current fashions in trims and accessories. I love this answer. This is a very, very, very good answer. I like it a lot. So, the next section we're going to move into is all about travel. This travel section I wish I had of looked at before doing so much travel. With my last trip, Serena and I both were like trying to sew things that weren't going to wrinkle and that were going to travel well and we wouldn't need a steamer, and like it was a whole thing. So let's see what they say. The question, so for us, this is question number 10, and it says, can you give me some general tips on a travel wardrobe? The answer, plan ahead, study your destination, its climate, activities, and what's generally worn there. Ask your travel agent for suggestions and write the Chamber of Commerce in the place you'll be visiting. That is such a 1950s answer. Like, are there still travel agents? And can you still write your Chamber of Commerce? I don't know. But, I mean, this is decent advice. Choose your wardrobe carefully. Take from your present wardrobe only the clothes you'll need. Don't forget your favorites. Be sure to build the entire wardrobe around a basic color scheme so that accessories will be at a minimum. Take advantage of easy care fabrics. Pack precisely, putting heavy things on the bottom, light things on top. So I think that's a really good idea for travel, especially if you're going to be gone for several days, is to have things that can be mixed and matched and utilized again, and like one pair of shoes that works for 3 or 4 different outfits. Like, I totally agree with all of that. So next question. What are good travel fabrics? Drip dry synthetics, crease and stain resistant cottons, and silks, jerseys, and knits. Okay. Question number 12. I expect to fly to Europe this summer and spend a month touring. How can I plan my wardrobe for the least amount of clothes? So this goes back into that same thing around building around a basic color. So they answer, plan around a basic color, select easy care fabrics that can be washed and dried in one night. Oh, that's a good tip. A minimum wardrobe includes. Okay, so let's get into this. A minimum wardrobe includes 1 suit, light wool or synthetic, 2 skirts and tops, mixed match separates, 2 shirtwaists or casual dresses, 1 silk dress and jacket, 1 evening sheath and jacket with accessory changes for nightlife, 1 cardigan sweater, 1 coat combination, rain or shine coat. Okay. Next question. I'm taking a 2-week cruise through the Caribbean. What type of clothes do I wear on ship? By day, cottons or linen dresses, separate skirts and bright tops, shorts, slacks, swimsuit if there's a pool, cardigan, sweater, low-heeled shoes or sandals, and carry a tote bag. By night, short evening dresses in cotton, linen, chiffon, silk. Evening separates are a good idea. Light wrap, sandals or linen or silk pumps, and an envelope purse. And you know I love envelope purse. So that's it for the travel section. We're going to move on to special occasions. Okay, and I believe we're at question number 14 because we're only doing 50 out of this whole thing. So, special occasions. The question is it necessary to wear black when attending the funeral of a member of the family? And I think this has changed for a lot of different reasons over the years, and a lot of different cultures. This is different. I would love to hear about your own culture or your own preference for this. They answer that black is generally worn, and I tend to agree with this, but I do like to mix black with like a little hint of white. So that's just me. Next question. I'm invited to a Broadway opening night. Must I wear a formal dress? So Serena and I, just went to the orchestra and we dressed very formally. 90% of the people there were not. People had on jeans. This is what I sew and wore. I will link the video if you want to see it. I personally think that you should dress up for these kind of things, but that's my opinion. I would love to hear your thoughts on it. Let's see what they say. In the orchestra, many will wear formal attire. However, a dressy short gown of silk chiffon would be perfectly acceptable. Wear silk opera pumps, a glittery pin or earrings, short white kid gloves, and carry a small envelope evening purse. I think that's a good answer. Okay, question number 16. When a hostess doesn't say dress or don't dress, how can you decide what to wear? I never heard those terms used in modern times, so I guess they used to be on invitations. And so I'm taking it as, what do you wear when the invitation isn't specific on dress code? So their answer is a jacket dress in an evening fabric. Shintung silk taffeta is perfect for this situation. Wear the jacket, remove it if the other guests are dressed. If in doubt, always underdress. Don't overdress. And my mother would not agree with this. She literally says it is better to be overdressed than underdressed. And I'm going to have to agree. I would love to hear what you think on this. Is it better to be underdressed or overdressed? Would love to hear. Next question. Oh, this is interesting. I'd like to know if strapless dresses are proper, and if so, when and where you wear them. It says they are perfectly proper for evening wear at dances, opening night at the theater, at summer resorts, but never for daytime streetwear. Always carry a matching or coordinated jacket or stole. A strapless dress looks attractive only if you have a pretty neckline and bosom. And this is really an interesting question and answer, and boy have times changed. Okay, so let's keep going. When one goes nightclubbing in the city, are formal clothes out of place? I think so, at a nightclub. Let's see what they say. Ordinarily, a street-length dressy dress is worn for nightclubbing. If you have been at a formal dance and decide to stop at a nightclub late in the evening, it is all right to do so dressed as you are. And this makes sense. Like recently for my husband's birthday, we went to a really fancy restaurant and I was dressed very fancily. And then we ended up going to a nightclub, which we hadn't done in years. And then another nightclub. And then we ended up at 4 a.m. at a Denny's and I looked like this is what I wore, and you should have seen how dirty the skirt was by the end of the night. It was really fun and funny. So, okay, here's another one that might apply to me. I go to baseball games, football games, and other sporting events with my husband. I always seem to be overdressed. What am I doing wrong? Their answer, you're simply not selecting the right styles. Sporting events require sporty looking ensembles, tailored suits with pullover sweaters or silk shirts, tailored shirtwaist styles, flared skirts and sturdy fabrics with sweaters or blouses, comfortable walking shoes, casual coats, small head-hugging hats. And I have found when I go to sporting events, there is a short up of what I wore when I went to a NBA game with my husband, but we were sitting courtside and I wanted to be like one of the fly girlies, but I had so much fun with this look. I cannot even lie. And it was a really fun night and I loved it. I loved everything about it. Normally, like if we go to a Colts game, I usually wear like a denim skirt or like with a long sleeve tee, which I like a lot, or jeans with a nice sweater, or I never got into really the Colts gear, but I usually wear blue and white, but my husband always wears Colts gear.
Challenge that, Frank! That's a touchdown! Frank, challenge that! Well, I tell you, horse contact. Yeah, that was a touchdown. Get a first 7 points. Frank, that challenge! They need to review it. That's a scoring play. Don't they supposed to review all scoring plays? That's a challenge. You gotta do that.
I had to include this footage because going to sporting events with my brother and my husband is literally like one of my favorite things to do on earth. So for question number 20, we are moving into weddings. The question says, we are having a small afternoon wedding. I would like to wear something that I can use later. What do you suggest? They answer, a street-length dress or even a suit would be appropriate. It can be in white or in a light color, and your headpiece can be a short veil or a small, simple hat. Okay, so here's a good one. I'm being married for the first time, although I am a bit over 30. Is it proper for me to wear a traditional white dress? And the fact that this question is even asked is so 1950s. But they answer, certainly, but be sure that you select a flattering shade of white or off-white. Keep your gown dignified and simple. Be aware of that junior ruffled look. Okay. Dignified, I don't know what they mean, but okay. Next question. We hope to hold our wedding in our garden. If the weather does not cooperate, it will be in my parents' small living room. What should I wear? They answer, you will probably want to avoid confusion by not wearing a floor-length gown. Make your dress in a lightweight, crisp, cool fabric like organdy, organza, dotted Swiss linen, or chiffon. I am attending a very formal evening wedding. Must I wear a full-length gown? This is a good question. I recently went to a wedding in Las Vegas where they asked for everyone to wear white. There's a short actually up of what I wore. I will link it. But it was so hard trying to find a white dress that I did not look like the bride. But the crazy thing is I ordered so many white dresses and I ended up wearing the dress from my own bachelorette party. So... But the wedding was in Vegas, so. And this is what we wore to that wedding. This is what I wore to my own wedding, though I had two dresses, one for the ceremony, one for the reception. And then this is me and my family at my brother's wedding a couple of years ago. So just wanted to share. So they say no, you may wear a dinner or cocktail dress. So that's for a very formal evening wedding. You can wear a dinner or cocktail dress. Makes sense, as you can today. Okay, so the next section I'm getting into, we're going to get into a lot more questions of that because it talks about choosing your sewing pattern. And I think these questions are really cool and insightful and a bit entertaining. Question 24. I can never tell how a pattern design is going to look on me when I see it in the counter catalog. Please tell me what I can do. They answer, ask yourself, how does the eye react to the lines in the dress? Do the lines make your eye travel upward? If they do, you are going to look taller. If the lines carry your eye across the figure, you are going to appear stouter and shorter. I always have trouble I look at the pattern envelope, and if I just like the illustration or what's on the envelope, I'll buy the pattern without even truly thinking, is this going to be flattering on me? And this is how I have ended up with so many sewing patterns that are just not going to work for me. So next question, what lines should I look for to make me appear taller? Usually vertical and diagonal lines will keep the eye moving upward, as found in designs such as the simple sheath, the coat dress, the long front closing, the narrow panel, and the surplus closing. Not even really sure what that means, but. Next question, will slim skirts make me look taller? Yes, if the fit is good. The skirt should not fit too loosely nor too tightly, revealing the outline of your figure. Okay, here's a good one. What can I wear that will make me appear slimmer? They answer, stick to lines that give a vertical and diagonal illusion. Wear dark colors, dull finished fabrics, avoid bulky and clingy fabrics, wear one color or tones of one color, slim belts, fitted bodices. If you like pattern fabrics, wear small all over prints and stripes that keep the eye moving upward. I think I agree with this. I do. Okay, this one might be good for me. What type of design will minimize a full low bust? So they answer, even before you choose your design, buy the proper foundation garment to give you a good line. I have learned this. A softly draped bodice is becoming, but be aware of too much draping. Just a little is fine. Wear a medium neckline, nothing too low or too high. Keep interest high on your figure. At the neckline or above, a pin, earring, an attractive hairstyle. Keep your hair above collar length. The 2 points to remember: use of the diagonal line in the bodice and center of interest at the neckline or above. I think that's a good answer. Question 29. I have a fairly well proportioned figure, but I am thick through the rib cage. What can I do to keep this hidden? Their answer is to wear boxy jackets, bloused bodices, soft draping. Keep interest away from this area by wearing a bright flash of color elsewhere on the body. Okay. Question number 30. What styles are best for a short-waisted figure? And this applies to me because I did not know until I started sewing that I had a short waist. So their answer is to strive to make the waist look longer. The bolero jacket, which I love, the waist length and hip length jackets accomplish this end. Wear one color in bodice and skirt for a smooth, uninterrupted line. Avoid any bulkiness in fabric or design. Wear narrow belts set at or just below waistline and in color of costume. Walk and think tall, and you will look tall. I like that answer. Number 31. I look like a block. What can I do to minimize a large waist? To minimize, de-emphasize. How? Simply by drawing attention away from your waist rather than to it. Wear dresses or separates in one color. If you wear a belt, keep it narrow and of the same color as your dress. Strive for softness in your silhouette. Keep the center of interest of your costume at or above the neckline. Try an all-in-one foundation to help pull in your waistline and raise your bust line. Wear flared skirts that flow away from your waist rather than straight down from it. Okay, question 32. What should I wear to hide wide, large hips? They reply, Smoothly fitted, flared, gored, or box pleated skirts are for you. Avoid pocket details, blouses, and jackets which cut across the figure, shiny or clingy fabrics. Keep the center of interest high on your figure to call attention away from your problem area. Perhaps a brilliant pin, a scarf, lovely earrings. Okay. Next question. Should a woman with large hips avoid straight skirts? And they say yes. The flared skirt is best. A straight skirt will only emphasize the proportion of the hips. And I like a straight skirt on me, so I'm going to disagree with that. What can I wear to minimize a prominent derriere? And this is so funny because this is not even a question that would be asked in today's time. They respond, first, wear a good foundation garment, and I guess in our case this days that's Spanx, and check your posture. Look for styles with flowing lines, particularly in the back. You can wear the hip-length boxy jacket very well. Wear box pleated skirts, flared skirts, sheared waistlines. Fill in the hollow above the derriere with blousing, a sash, a flyaway jacket. You may also broaden the shoulder area to minimize the hip area. Keep the center of interest high on your figure away from your hip line. Next question. What can I do to hide a prominent abdomen? And back to, wear a good foundation garment and check your posture. Wear designs with pleats or shirring at the sides of the skirt with a straight front panel. Keep your colors dark, your fabrics dull finished. Wear boxy hip-length jackets. Strive for vertical lines to carry the eye up to the figure, skimming over the problem area. And the only thing I find so interesting about these kind of questions is that I don't think in today's time we are as fixated on hiding things. I mean, I think we do look to emphasize our strengths, but not a lot of us want to minimize our derriere. But we do, mostly all of us, I can say, would like to hide a prominent abdomen. So let me know what you think of these questions and the focus on the look of the body and all of that was taking place back then. That's a lot. Okay, so now let's get into applying sewing patterns to the figure type and size. So they ask, how do you determine what size you take in a pattern? Take accurate measurements of bust, waist, hips, and back waist length and compare them with the standard body measurements for these various types and sizes. Find the type and size which most closely corresponds with your own measurements. This is something that took me a little bit of time to learn when it came to sewing and choosing the right patterns, but I definitely go for the pattern that's closest to my bust size, because then we can deal with everything else, even though a full bust adjustment is still always needed because sewing patterns come in, I believe, a B cup size. So anything over a B cup, you're gonna need a full bust adjustment. So the next question, I've heard a lot about ease. Would you explain it to me? And this is something that I did not understand when I first started sewing either, because like some things I wanted to fit tight, but if they're just too tight, it's not gonna work. So there's like a standard system for ease and patterns, but I don't know, because nowadays the patterns, they be different. Okay, their answer is, it is very important to understand the ease allowance and patterns. For a garment to fit comfortably, there must be room for body movement. You select a pattern by standard body measurements, but you will find that the actual pattern will measure slightly larger than the measurements shown for each size. And that's where the ease is added. So a tight fitted skirt will have less ease than a boxy skirt and so forth. This then asks, do all pattern companies use the same measurements for each size? And so their answer is, all the major pattern companies adopted a standard of body measurements approved by the Measurement Standard Committee of the pattern industry. They may use slightly different blocks for their patterns, and the ease allowance will be different. It is always good to measure the tissue of any pattern to see that the measurements and ease allowances will suit your figure. So that makes sense. Nowadays, like I said, but I think sometimes too, it's because I'm sewing with vintage reproductions. That can be a whole thing all on its own that gets interesting. Okay. Next question. How do you take body measurements? And here's the best answer. The best way is to have someone take them for you. let's answer some questions about fabric. I'm still learning a lot about fabric, and there is a lot to learn. So question 39. Sometimes the fabric I use makes me look huge. Why? They respond, the color and texture of the material can make you look larger or smaller. Select fabrics in dull, dark, cool colors and in smooth, dull, lightweight textures if you wish to appear smaller. Never really thought of this a lot when it came to certain fabrics making you look bigger. Let me know your thoughts on that. Wasn't a thing I really thought of. Okay, guys, I hope you're still with me. We're going to get to some sewing questions really soon. So, question 40. What fabrics are best for crisp box pleated skirts? Use firm fabrics, neither stiff nor bulky, with a smooth, plain surface. Worsted, linens, firm silks, and synthetics are all good. And then, what fabrics are best for straight silhouettes? Use firm fabrics with little draping, quality wool and rayon suiting, linen, shantung, and then there's bengaline. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Bengaline? Not sure. What fabrics can I use for slim skirts this summer that won't wrinkle and will hold their shape? They respond, crease-resistant cottons, linens, and synthetics are perfect for slim summer skirts. Underlining, of course, always helps a skirt hold its shape. If you do not line your skirt, use a tightly woven fabric. Did not know that, but I have not seen a linen that did not wrinkle. Okay, so now this goes on to ask questions about fabric preparation. Here's a very good one to learn when sewing. What is meant by the grain of the fabric? It says grain refers to the lengthwise and crosswise threads. Lengthwise grains run parallel to the selvage. Crosswise grains run across the fabric from selvage to selvage at right angles to the lengthwise grain. And on sewing patterns, this is why they have that grain line on there. And it really does help to kind of measure from that line that's on the pattern piece to the selvage, just to make sure you're lining it up. And this was something that when I started to do really did kind of change the end game of my final garment. So and they talk about washing, pre-washing, and all of those are lessons I learned the hard way. Here's one. Do you shrink wool the same way as you do cotton? And they say, have wool fabrics professionally shrunk by your dry cleaner. That makes sense. And then they go on to talk about how to handle some different fabrics. So how to handle crepe. How do you keep seams from puckering when sewing on crepe? You use tissue paper as a backing when stitching. Should a crepe garment be snugly fitted to the figure? It is best to underline crepe to prevent stretching. Fit the garment snugly but not too tightly to your figure since it may stretch after it is worn. Didn't know that. How should crepe be pressed? Press very lightly with a press cloth. I have learned that the hard way about many of fabrics. Then they talk about how to handle satin and brocade. It says, should satin be treated as a napped fabric in the layout? Yes, it should, since it reflects light in different directions. And I knew this, but still didn't know to treat it as a nap. Just learned something. How are metallic fabrics pressed? Press with a moderately hot iron. Test a scrap of fabric before ironing. Press slightly using no moisture with a press cloth. If you must press on the right side, use tissue paper over the surface. That test fabric before you put the iron to it is just like, that's definitely the way to go. Now let's talk about how to handle plaids. It says, what is an even plaid? How is it cut? An even plaid is one in which the plaid design repeats itself in both directions. Determine the placement for the design of your figure. And so that is also something I'm learning about, is paying attention to where on the fabric you are cutting out the sewing pattern and where that is going to lay on your body. Makes a big difference in the end. Okay, and now in chapter 4, they talk about what is the inside story, meaning linings and underlinings. So here's the question. What is the difference between lining and this new term I've read about, underlining? Lining is a shaping material that partially or entirely covers the inside of a garment. It is cut from those pattern pieces which it covers and is constructed separately. It is joined to the garment as a major seam, such as at the waistline. It finishes the wrong side as well as shapes the garment. And see, I don't think I understood that. I knew it was to finish the inside, but I didn't understand that it was to shape it as well. Underlining is also a shaping material that partially or entirely backs the inside of a garment. It is cut from the pattern piece which it's covered. So I think we just call that lining. So what is the difference between interfacing and interlining? Interfacing is a piece of shaping material usually cut in the shape of the facing. It is placed between the facing and the garment. And so nowadays we have the iron-on, we have the sewing, we have a lot of options for what we use for interfacing between the facing and the fabric. Okay, so what about linings? Are there warm interlinings for winter coats? I just had to order some lining for the coat that I want to make. Went yesterday to Joann to try to get lining. It was too crowded in there. I filmed while I was in there, so that's up on the channel as well. They say there are several woven wool interlinings on the retail market for this purpose. Check your local fabric department. I did not have success with that. Oh, here's a good one. If a lining is called for in a pattern, but I don't wish to line the garment, what adjustments must I make? It will be necessary to finish all the seams carefully. Check construction to see if you will have to add neckline facings, increase the width of front facings, or increase hem length. I have learned this the hard way. If it's calling for a lining, you need it. And in my case, it's always really just been to finish certain parts of the garment so that it looks nice and neat and well made. Okay, so now let's talk about sewing. In chapter 5, they ask, how do I begin? Questions. So the question is, I'm just learning to sew. What basic sewing equipment do I need? You'll need a sewing machine, electric if possible, cutting shears 6 to 8 inches, snipping scissors 5 inches, pinking shears, needles, varied sizes and types, pins, dressmaker or silk, pin cushion, thimble, measuring tools, tape measure, yardstick, ruler or gauge, tracing wheel and dressmaker's carbon tracing paper, tailor's chalk, iron, ironing board, pressing cloth, sleeve board, tailor's ham, press mitt, and a box or basket for your small equipment and thread. I think that is pretty good. I think that is exactly what I would say you need to get started. Question number 50. Can a person teach herself to sew? It is possible, but not advisable. You'll save time and mistakes by learning under the guidance of an experienced instructor. And that is it for the 50 questions. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please share any thoughts, questions, comments. Let me know if you would like to do another 50 or 25 questions or so out of this book, because we were really just getting into the learning how to sew aspect of it, but I wanted to talk about some of the questions that were asked at that time and how they were answered. So if you like the video, and I will see you in the next one that is soon and sure to come.